Welcome to the very first edition of The Insider. Here you see the very best in show jumping. You will meet riders, team managers and team owners. And we will take you behind the scenes of launching Global Champions Tour and the Global Champions League. Every Wednesday, following a stage of Global Champions, you and I have a date here on The Insider. So stay tuned if you don't want to miss out. The 2020 series had its kickoff last week in Doha in Qatar in the beautiful Longines Arena and Al Shaqab. 2020 is promising to be a fantastic season. Doha was just the first stop in the series. 18 cities will play host to the riders, the horses and the fans on truly iconic locations. And all roads lead to the GC playoffs at the end of the season in November in Prague. I'm not alone on The Insider, so it is a warm welcome to our first guest. She is the 2008 series champion, had 5 Grand Prix podium finishes as a rider, and is winner of the Longines Global Champions Tour Grand Prix of Sao Paulo and Monaco. Now she thrives as team manager of Prague Lions, leading the team to 5 podium finishes and 2 wins in only their first 2 seasons of the team on the league. It is Jessica Curtin. Jessica, that sounds quite impressive, doesn't it?
Yeah, when I hear it like that, it's quite nice to hear that sometimes. But yeah, happy to be here, Frederick.
We're happy to have you. The season finally started again. Glad, happy?
Very happy the season's got going again. It was a short winter, but it seemed quite long without Global Champions League. And yeah, very happy that things have got going again.
Oh, brilliant. With Jessica, we will take a look behind the scenes and go deeper into the events of last week. But first, we take you back to the action, back to Doha, back to the start of an exciting series of Global Champions 2020. And the Knights lead, the twin brothers shine in Doha, and it is a win for the London Knights. Daniel Neusser is the first winner of the Longines Global Champions Tour season 2020. He wins in Doha. We are literally 5,000 kilometers away from Doha. This is the spiritual home of Global Champions. Next up are Mexico and Miami. Also, that means traveling by plane. Can you explain us, how does that really work logistically? How does that function?
It's really quite normal these days. It's now many years that horses have been flying. Of course, it's been tens of years that racehorses have been flying, but for the show jumpers now, it's become quite a normal thing for them to be doing. The best way to describe it is 4-legged business class. There's some of the airports have specialised now with what they call horse hotels. So it means that the grooms can come or the riders can come with their horses. They unload them into stables. Mostly they've got rubber on the floor. It's really well done. The horses have a chance to relax. And then they're loaded onto containers. Obviously for the Global League, the horses fly wide. There is normally the possibility that you can put 3 on a container, but for Global Champions they fly only 2, so they've plenty of room. And many of the grooms, they bring hay nets for the horses, water buckets, and then some bring also these rubber pads, so they have kick pads, so they can have super safety in there. And basically the horses get loaded up shortly before flying into these containers, and then they go by lift into the plane. They don't even have to walk up the stairs like we have to walk up the stairs. They go by lift into the plane, and basically they get put in all in together on the planes. The grooms are with them on the plane, and during the flight they normally have a snack, some mash and some hay. And
sounds pretty good.
It's amazing, and there's enough room for the grooms to go in, change the rugs. They do now keep the temperature really regular on the planes, and I have to say it's phenomenal. You even say sometimes that the horses enjoy flying. It's very simple.
They all arrived in very fine shape. So let's take a brief look at the very first round of action of the Global Champions League. Jessica's team, Prague Lions, didn't manage to produce the crucial clay rounds. Both Willem Vermeer and new signing Jur Wieling scored 4 faults each for the Lions. Reigning champions London Knights fielded the Belgian brothers Olivier and Nicolas Philippaerts and finished with a double clear in third. Evelina Tovek and Hendrik von Eckermann started for Scandinavian Vikings and ended second in round 1. Vikings were beaten for time by Saint-Tropez Pirates. Peter de Vos and newcomer Daniel Deusser stopped the clocks 22/100th of a second faster than the Vikings and led overnight. 8 teams sat on double clear, Hamburg Giants followed on a time fault, and 4 teams sat on 4. Jessica, how did you feel about your boys' performances in round 1?
Oh, well, I have to say that I'm nearly always very happy with the boys' performance and our girl on the team, Anna, as well. After day 1, it was a little bit of a difficult day for us. We had Wilm's round, and Wilm has really been working on his time because he was always a bit slow last year, and he's really been working hard on that. Ewer's horse is not yet really experienced at this level. He's very talented. We can see at the beginning of every round he jumps very exuberantly. So for their first outing on the team, it was solid but not perfect.
Well, we can hear that passion coming through. We know Jessica as a pretty passionate when talking about the team. So we asked the riders how it is to work with her.
Yeah, one of the reasons to choose for Prague Lions was Jessica. I phoned her directly because I know her and I like the way she's doing it.
She's really motivated. Passionate, and she helps everywhere she can.
Somebody very professional. I can learn every day from her. She was herself very successful her whole career, about so many years.
A winner in the ring, and she wants this also. She wants to have the best performances, and she's strict to things. And also she knows everything about horses. She's a real horsewoman.
There is a really good, in our team, the team spirit is very good, so we do it for each other, and I think that's what she wants.
She knows my horses, she can tell me some small details, what is the best.
As a person, she's really nice and lovely to share time with her.
Yeah, Jessica has a lot of humor, positive humor.
But in the sport, she's also very competitive, and she wants to get your focus really good, and that's 2 different things, and that's what I like.
Well, can you relate to what they say?
Wow.
Competitive, passionate, horsewoman, those are all very solid compliments.
Yeah, so many compliments, and yeah, I think they're mirroring what I see in the guys in our team, and we do have a great team spirit, and it's a super group of professionals, and I personally feel unbelievably privileged over the last 3 years to be able to work with such a fantastic group of professionals, and I think we're all pretty competitive.
Absolutely. Team managers play a crucial role in selecting the right riders for their roster, and during the off-season over winter they select the newcomers, and for 2020 some unexpected transfers went through. Shanghai Swans had quite a makeover, losing Peter Fredriksson to Valkenswaard United and Daniel Deusser to Saint-Tropez Pirates. Deusser filled the gap that Edwina Tops-Alexander left when leaving for United. Valkenswaard with a massive reinforcement after their disappointing stint in 2019. Paris Panthers didn't go shopping at other teams but brought in Penelope Le Prévost. The French straight away underlining her entry with a double clear in Doha. Shane Breen moved from Miami Celtics to New York Empire, where Hans-Dieter Dreher had to make room. He was quickly picked up by Can Stars, where his Doha double clear must have caused some regret in Empire's management. 2 new under-25 riders lived a remarkable debut in Doha. 22-year-old Gilles Thomas lived the dream when riding a tremendous double clear on his first outing for Miami Celtics. Jack Whittaker, on the other hand, was wide awake in a nightmare. The second fence in round 1 of GCL was a remarkable wall. It didn't cause many faults, but Whittaker's horse wasn't all too sure about the construction, jumping it outside the white and red flags, eliminating himself and the team, Cascais Charms, after only 2 jumps taken. Those are some remarkable transfers over the season. Would you say that in general the field has been leveled out even more, that you now have 11 very strong teams, maybe even more, that are really competitive?
Yes, I think that we've seen over the last couple of seasons how important it is to have a very strong team. It's hard competition, it's a lot of competition. If you look already this summer, we're going to have 10 weeks of strong competition. So all the teams are looking to be strong with riders who have a good string of horses to be able to cover all the events.
Jack Whittaker, 19 years young, first ever global champions appearance. Is the first to go out for Qashqai Charms, and then that happens. Let's have another look. What do you see? What happens?
Well, I mean, to us sitting here, it's very, very obvious that in the last 2 strides, the horse goes to the right and he just quite simply jumps outside the flag. It is, of course, the course builder is allowed to put those flags wherever he wants. This is a jump of 1 level. In some jumps, you know, the wings are higher. So where it's 1 level, the course builder can actually put the flags where he wants. It was the choice of Frank Rothenberger to put the flags here to make it also that little bit more difficult, which is fine at this level of sport. It's fine. Jack Whittaker, super young lad, great professional. Lovely to see him there with his dad, Michael. I mean, I am sure that he knew himself as he came there, I've jumped to the right. But then again, it's a really difficult situation for the judges.
From a Jewish perspective, that is very tough to call.
They're sitting up in the judges' box. I spoke to Stefan Ellenbrook afterwards, and yes, we do have the video assistant, as in football. They do have the possibility to look at the video and call. But by the time the video comes, by the time they've seen it, he's over the next 5, 6 jumps. And what are you going to do?
What should he have done?
Technically, what he should have done, if he'd realised, he could have treated it as a run out, a refusal, made a circle, jumped the jump again and continued. Then he would have come home with time faults and 4 faults for running past the jump. But in this situation, it's really, really difficult. I mean, maybe from outside, if somebody noticed it really sharply, whistled in, would he have reacted to the whistling in? Very difficult, because I would imagine that he was just waiting to hear the bell.
Well, in typical Whittaker style, he's only 19 years old, but in typical Whittaker style, this is his reaction.
I jumped outside the flags, which normally would be impossible within. Yes, I jumped outside the wings, but it was a wall and the flags were a bit narrower, and I basically jumped the wrong side of the flag. So it counted as a refusal, and I carried on, and I got eliminated in the end because I should have come back and jumped the fence. So I kind of half thought it was on the line, but I thought if I turn a circle now and I didn't actually jump outside the flags, it'd be stupid. And I jumped. Unfortunately, I set the last fence down, but which wouldn't have been a bad round. But if I turned a circle and jumped the fence again, that had already been 4 faults and probably time faults as well. And I thought if I jump a clear round after that, then it would be a bit of a stupid fault if I got away with it. But I didn't get away with it, so in the end, it was a bad decision.
Very honest, isn't he? Split-second decisions, made the wrong call. Happens.
Well, super. You see an old head on young legs, and you can see with this attitude, this is why he's already with 19 jumping in Global Champions League. He's very young.
That was a split-second decision. You also made 2 very important decisions. You signed 2 new team members to the Prague Lions. Judith Vrieling and Sergio Alvarez Moya. Gerko Schröder, who was 2 years on the team, is off, and so is Marco Kutscher, who was then picked up by the Berlin Eagles. Did Marco leave at first, or was he signed off by Berlin Eagles first? Well,
firstly, I'd like to say that we were extremely happy with the performance from both. Gerko's been with us for a very long time, and it's disappointing to let him go. And also Marco was very successful with the team last year, and we enjoyed both very much having them as part of our team. Very professional, super guys. This year is very difficult for us because we actually have 3 of our team members who are very strong contenders to go to the Olympics, with Anna, Niels and Mark. And we really need horsepower. It's unbelievably important to have horsepower. And Gerko's been lacking in horsepower, and Marco's, the 3 horses that jumped for the team for him last year were sold at the back end of the team last year. And Marco, well aware himself, he said, you know, if you want to keep me, I've got nothing to ride. So this was where we had to make this really difficult decision to look for new riders. And
when did those 2 new riders appear on your radar, Vrieling and Moya? When did they catch your eye?
Well, obviously, I mean, Jurs said it nicely in his interview. I've known Jurs for years, and he's been a very important part of the Dutch team for many years. And I always have looked up to the Dutch team because I believe that they've always had very good team spirit, and they've always put their own interests a little bit behind that of the team. And this is what we're searching for in Global Champions League. Yes, we're individuals, but we really need to put the team in the front. And this is what we're always trying to do, is to build the team and to build this feeling for the riders to fight for each other. Yes, they have their individual results, and yes, there is an individual Grand Prix, but there is also the team. And we need to cultivate this atmosphere. And this was why we were happy to have Jur in the team. He has a good string of horses. He's got older horses and younger horses on the team, very motivated. His owners, VDL Stud, one of the owners that I do know,
very well, of course.
Very motivated, and owners with a lot of top horses, so they can keep him well mounted. And obviously Sergio has been a main player on the Spanish team. Super guy, Sergio, good businessman. He's always producing horses, and when one goes, another one always comes. So very happy to win both of them for the team.
I forgot to make that link, VDL Harley and Zapatero and others. Then news broke midwinter that Sergio Moya sold his #1 horse, sold Jetron. How did you react? Did you sign him before or after the sale, actually?
Well, I think this was a very, very good sign of his character, because this was going on, and Sergio was being very open with me and told me that it was happening, and it was something that we discussed. But you know, Sergio, he's not only a great rider, but he's a super businessman. And when one door closes, another opens. And he's already bought a horse that's been jumping double clear in 5-star Nations Cup. So we're not worried about that, because Sergio's building a string of very, very good horses. Already has a good team of horses, and his first outing will be probably now in Madrid. So. Yeah, we're waiting for big things.
As a team manager, your riders have to perform, of course, but you're the one who decides who goes to the events. You decide who starts in the first lineup, who starts in the lineup of round 2. How does that work with your Tino owners? Do you feel any pressure from them?
We have, in Czech Equestrian Team, we have great team owners who are wonderful for the sport. Obviously, Anna herself is on the team, Anna Kellnerova, and she's a great, important member of our team. And having been out last year, she's coming back now, ready this year for what's happening. And they are very, very supportive of the sport and of the team, and I think they're fantastic owners.
Do they set targets for you? Do you have to achieve a goal this season?
Well, I think the targets are very clear for all of us. We want to be as successful as possible at each event. That is always our goal. We go very motivated to the competitions. Our riders put their best horses on the team, and this is what's important for us. We want to see the best horses on the team, and we orientate our starting order around that. And yes, we want podium finishes, and of course, every year you want to be a little bit better, and we were into the second day at the Prague playoffs. And I mean, I don't think it would be ridiculous to say that our sights are looking a little higher.
All right. With 2 teams eliminated, Prague Lions were first to go in round 2 of GCL. You took Jur off and brought Niels in. What was the thought behind that substitution?
Yeah, this was the plan from day one. Niels to come in with Dulux on the second day. Dulux is obviously going to be Niels' Olympic horse this year. And Niels wanted to bring him in on Saturday. We were happy with that. And Wilm has been working hard, like I said earlier, to be faster, because he's always a little bit slow. And that's come now really good with Icus. Silly mistake the first day, but the second day, very, very solid, clear round, super piece of riding. And Jur has the chance then to come in with his horse, but this horse is not as experienced at this level, so one day was enough. And he gained experience. He jumped a very good round on the second day, had one down with a time fault, but still it was another growing round. And as we did last year, we started last year with some horses that we kept a little in the background, and then we were able to use them, like Marco Kutscher's horse, we were able to use them at the back end of the year. And this is what we like to do. We like to have the best horses leading, but we do want to produce the others all the time. And
give them a chance.
And this is our plan, not to overuse them, but keep giving them the chance that they can get the experience to be ready.
Substitutions. Let's see how that played out. Here is round 2 of Global Champions League in Doha. As first team out, Prague Lions, now with Niels Bruinseels and Willem Vermeer, brought home a fairly easy clear round. But it wasn't easy at all. From then on, 9 consecutive teams didn't manage to reproduce that double clear, launching the Lions up the ranks, only beaten on time. It was Paris Panthers with the second double clear of the day and the first clean sheet of the season, taking the lead in the defining moments. Straight after, London Knights had a clear target, the time of Paris Panthers. Knights made a horse change, and that tactical move paid off. Both Philippines brothers went clear and fast, overtaking Paris Panthers. Last team to go, Saint-Tropez Pirates, only had a horse change in their star lineup. De Vos switched from Espoir to Claire Z, and that proved to be a wrong call. London Knights opened the 2020 championship in the same way they closed the 2019 edition in New York, with a big win. They were joined on the podium by Paris Panthers and Berlin Eagles. That was an impressive comeback from 14th to 9th position from your Lions. They delivered one of only 3 double clears in that second round with around €3,500 per point. That is a €17,500 comeback from them. You must be delighted.
I was delighted with how the boys reacted. Thursday was not the best day for us. And as we always do, we discuss it quietly, but basically it's about sticking together and staying motivated and looking towards the next day, because we've seen it on so many times that the second day has been the decider. On this occasion, with 8 double clears, we were floating a little bit far away, so it was very important to come in with a double clear. And I was particularly impressed. My husband Eckhard was with the boys, and he was also really impressed how they stuck together. And I mean, they delivered 2 very solid rounds. For me, that was when I watched from a rider's point of view. The horses jumped wonderful. Deluxe and Iku, 2 amazing horses. But the guys, they rode real blinders, and I have to say there was a little bit of proudness inside.
That's beautiful. Hey, Jessica, prize money on the Tour this year, it is record-breaking. €37 million in total. 10 million for the GCL Super Cup in Prague alone. Last year, Shanghai Swans won 2.7 million in the Super Cup final, the highest money haul not only in the history of global champions, in the history of the sport. You as a former champion and a multi-Grand Prix winner, did you ever imagine that so much money in the sport would be involved, so much prize money?
I have to say, when I look back now and I remember the whole process starting with the Global Tour, what Jan Tops really put into place here is really visionary. We did ride our first €1 million Grand Prix in 2005 in Dubai. And since then it's been...
Wait a minute, who was the winner there in Dubai?
You don't ask questions like that.
Jessica Curtin.
Please don't do that. And then when we think about what came with the Global Champions League and how it has moved from year to year, and the vision to bring in the teams, and all the time Jan Tops communicating with the riders, discussing his vision, discussing his dreams, and the riders on board and say, we will go with you, we will go with you. And this has been something that has built over years. That it's reached this high level is really credit to his vision, and also credit to the riders and owners who've gone with over the last years. And yes, where we've reached now, it's absolutely amazing in the sport.
Ludger Beerbaum called the GC playoffs a milestone, a game changer. With so much money involved, do you see a different planning for horses, a different jumping schedule?
Okay, I have to say, with the Prague playoffs, it really is what Ludger says. We really have gone to a different level, and also at such short notice, what the Kellner family put into that, together with the Global Champions team. It's sensational, the Prague playoffs. It's really an event that's it's superlative. When I look at the planning of the horses, I take, for instance, our winner, Killer Queen, this beautiful mare with Daniel Deusser. I looked last year; she did 17 international shows. And when I look back to the height of the careers of horses like E.T., Shutterfly, my own wonderful mare, Libertino, you know, we were doing between 15 and 20 shows max in the year. That was sort of what we were doing. And if I look now, it's more or less the same.
Yeah.
It's just about picking the events.
Well, if you look at Explosion W's competition schedule, he jumped 3 rounds in the off-season between 2018 and 2019. 18 was the first season that he really broke through. 3 rounds only. Now he has jumped 5 rounds between Prague, between the playoffs and today. It seems that with Global Champions League and launching Global Champions Tour, there was again an on and off season, what seemed to have got lost over time. Now there's back that on and off season.
Yes, is on and off season. We do have to be careful because we don't know what the future is going to give us. Like anything in the sport, you know, you have to say never. But at this moment, the Global Champions League and Tour has got an off season. But even if this was to change in the future, if you watch the top riders who have stayed for many years at the top level, they've always managed their horses. You see the horses disappearing for 2 or 3 months and then they reappear. There is a plan, there is a schedule, and those riders who don't adhere to this, we do see them disappearing quite quickly.
Yeah. Well, all 3 Lions qualified for the Longines Global Champions Tour Grand Prix of Doha. The first one of the season and the first chance to claim a spot in the €1.2 million Longines Global Champions Tour Super Grand Prix in Prague. And the first one was one to remember. It is Longines Global Champions Tour Grand Prix time. The first stage of the season, the 2020 series. The championship starts in Doha, Qatar. There's the last fence. The finish line is quite far away. The time is ticking and Verlooy is out of the time allowed. And it is a new face. It is Max Kühner on electric blue P. And is this the first clear? It is Max Kühner once again clear here in Doha. Titouan Schumacher from France and Atom Z. And he's a little bit ahead of schedule with Verlooy, so he could finish inside the time. He could be the second to qualify for the jump off. And Schumacher is inside the time and clear, and he qualifies for the jump off. Daniel Deusser sits on Killer Queen. And Deusser is going to challenge the whole group because Deusser once again jumps a clean. We have standings after the first round of the Longines Global Champions Tour Grand Prix of Doha. The jump off. Off we go. And it's down. And home, 4 faults is the score for Max Kühner. Titouan Schumacher, the outsider. Less risk than Kühner, and also the same fault as Kühner though. But it is 8 in the end for Titouan Schumacher. Marcus Heyning. Ooh. And home in 42.79 seconds. And Heyning, the on form, takes the lead. Bruinseels. And we are looking for the first double clear and potentially the lead. Oh, with the hind leg, a light fault, and Bruinseels drops the rail. And now, Jérôme Guéry. Guéry is double clear, and Guéry leads the Grand Prix of Doha. And Philippaerts is here. How much quicker is he? Here he comes, last fence, Philippaerts. He is 3 seconds quicker, 2 to be exact, and Nicolas Philippaerts takes the lead. Daniel Deusser, he's got time, he thinks he's got time, he's got the last fence, he's deep. Daniel Deusser is the first winner of the Longines Global Champions Tour season 2020. He wins in Doha. How much of a role do you still play when your riders, your team riders, go into those Grand Prix as individuals? Are you still around? Are you still there? Most definitely. This is something that I personally started very quietly because you don't like to interfere. It's the personal thing, but I noticed very quickly that the boys in our team, they really enjoy still having you around, the support. And you know, you walk the course, you walk the jump off course, and when somebody's in the jump off, then you can say, you know, there you can do one less, and that turn, be careful there, I saw this and this at the angle. So it's always great to have somebody on the ground, and you build up an amount of trust with your team riders. So obviously when you can share this information together and support, and sometimes on the way to the ring and the jump off, maybe give a little bit more fire and say, you go get it, boy, it's yours, go take it. Yeah, I think it's nice to keep the team atmosphere right to the very end. Certainly from the team manager side the whole way, yeah, to the all in. All in. All in. One man who was all in was Daniel Deusser. What a surreal week in Doha. 7 rounds he jumped, including jump-offs. No faults, not a single rail the whole week in Doha. 6 times placed in the top 6, won 2 jump-off classes. That sounds extraterrestrial. Is he one of the big favorites for the championship this year? Daniel Deusser is always one of the big favourites. He is one of the most complete riders on the circuit, has been for many years. He really has had a great progression, working first for Franke Sluthak and then spending a very successful time at Staltops before moving on to Stefex stables. He's very good at managing. He's got super horses, produces the horses carefully. Killer Queen, he's really beautifully produced. And yes, definitely, of course, we have to wait for Ben Maher to come back. This with Explosion, that's a fantastic partnership. Wonderful that they could stay together. Yeah. And we have others. Look at the number of young horses that are coming into the sport this year. We've seen in Doha now so many new faces, equine faces, not the riders, but so many new horses coming in. So there is really new energy, new charisma in the tour this year, as far as horses are concerned, and we will have to see at the end. But yes, when you ask specifically for Daniel, of course we have to have him on the cards. Pieter de Vos, number 2 in last year's championship, didn't qualify for the Grand Prix. He finished 36th and missed out of the Grand Prix by 1 position. De Vos injured his right hand in the incident and went to the hospital for a medical checkup upon his return in Belgium. Doctors diagnosed a fracture in his hand, but he is expected to have recovered by the next stage. Mexico City, that is the next stop on the Longines Global Champions Tour and the Global Champions League. And just like last year, it promises to be an incredibly vibrant stage, drenched in local culture and attracting thousands of guests and fans. The trip requires a tactical master plan from the team managers, as Mexico is held on a massive open grass arena, and a week later the same horses travel to Miami featuring a compact sand ring. Jessica, have you done your homework? Have you got your lineup ready? We
have got our lineup ready. We did our homework in January, basically, who would be going where, so as the riders can plan and make a good plan for each individual horse. So yes, we know who's going.
So how do you do? Are you not going to tell me?
I'm not sure.
Well,
well, I could tell you that Niels is going, that Mark Hautsager is going, and Willem Vermeer.
Okay, so the three of them go over. How do you pick horses? Do you balance them out for both stages, or do you set them up to peak at one location and hope for the best at the other?
Yeah, we say to them, take one grass horse and take one sand horse with you. No, we don't. We certainly don't do that. For sure, riders have their preferences. I mean, Mexico City is, for majority of the riders, one of the favorites of the year, because it's the most incredible big grass arena, super footing and super atmosphere. And then you go to Miami. Miami, for some riders, they say, oh, it's a bit difficult on the beach. Others say, oh my God, it's amazing, super atmosphere with the people, they're coming in their swimming trunks and watching us jump. So as far as the horses are concerned, I'm a great believer that the majority of horses can do both. For sure, you can have this little preference and you say, I'd much rather have a big grass field. You might have a horse who's a little shy. It's a little difficult in Miami, always going onto the outside track, the waves for some. But to be quite honest, the majority can cope well with both. And I think this big problem of saying this or that is maybe a little bit more in the rider's head. So I'm very confident that the horses that we're sending can cope with both.
But then I hear you saying that it's not about the physical aspect of the horses, it is more about the mental aspect.
Yeah, I believe so. I mean, I think our horses these days are they're modern. We've been breeding now very specifically, you know all about this, over the last years to produce the perfect sport horse for show jumping. In the old days, as you said yourself, we maybe had these big slow horses. You say, oh, they were for puissance, and you had the little nifty one you could do in a speed class. But you look at a horse like Katanga. She's not what you would say with the classic Grand Prix horse, yet she can gallop around the rink and she does a super job. And then there are other horses, you may say they're a little bit slower in their movement. Iku, from Wilm, one of our own team horses. Wilm loves to have the small arena with Iku. He said in the small arena he's easier to handle.
Manageable,
and so I think it's very much, if the horse is comfortable in both places, if he can cope with both atmospheres, and if the rider has an open mind and can cope with both places as well, I think it's not a problem, the trip.
Jessica, thank you very much for joining us here at the first edition of The Insider. As always, a pleasure talking to you, and thank you very much for giving us some insight on your role as a team manager. Best of luck. And to you at home, thank you for watching. And don't forget, the last weekend of March we are in Mexico for the second stage of the season. And on Wednesday, April 1st, we are back with the second edition of The Insider. And no, that is no April Fool. See you then, and bye-bye.